Have you ever stopped to think why, despite all the promises you make to yourself, your habits keep failing? Maybe you've convinced yourself that the problem is a lack of time, or even believed you need more motivation. But the truth is different. What really brings you down is a lack of consistency, and that's exactly what almost no one has the courage to admit. Most people start out excited, full of plans, but halfway through they lose their way, give up, and then make excuses. But today I want to cut through that mask. I want to speak to you directly, as if I were looking you in the eye and asking, how many times have you promised yourself you would change and ended up falling back into the same old habits? How many times have you started a workout, a diet, a project, and halfway through dropped everything as if nothing had happened? If this has happened to you, comment below. Habits, because I want to see who really has the courage to admit that they've failed along the way. Don't be ashamed, because admitting it is the first step toward change. And before you think about giving up on this video like you've given up on so many other things, let me tell you, this may be the most honest conversation you've ever had about discipline. It's not about pretty motivational phrases or empty promises of a new life starting Monday. It's about the stark reality that separates those who achieve results from those who continue to stagnate. Because yes, habits aren't built in bursts of energy. They're forged in the silence of ordinary days when you have no desire whatsoever but still choose to show up. And this truth can hurt, but it can also liberate. It frees you from the illusion that you need to wait for the perfect motivation or the ideal moment to act. Have you ever noticed that everyone talks about starting well, but almost no one talks about keeping it up? Well, that's the key. There's no point in running the first 100 meters if you can't sustain that. You pace for a marathon. The same goes for your habits. It doesn't matter if you can go 3 days without touching your phone in the wee hours of the morning, if on the 4th day you're already scrolling through your feed until 3 in the morning. It doesn't matter if you study for a week with total focus, if then you spend a month without opening a book. Consistency is what separates the amateur from the professional, the dreamer from the achiever. And I want you to reflect on this now. Have you been living like someone who's consistent, or like someone who just gets excited and gives up soon after? I know the answer may be uncomfortable, but this discomfort is necessary, because until you face your pattern of giving up halfway head-on, you'll remain trapped in the same cycle of frustration. The cycle is always the same: promise, excitement, failure, and excuses. But today, I'm not here to stroke your ego. I'm here to provoke you, to prod you until you realize that if you don't change your ways, you'll spend another year repeating the same story. And if you've made it this far, it means that deep down, you know you need to hear this. So answer me. How many more times will you let lack of consistency be the excuse behind your failures? How many times will you postpone your future, thinking that tomorrow, next Monday, or next year, you'll finally have discipline? There's no perfect moment, only decision. And the decision you make today could be the turning point in your life. Write your words in the comments. Habits. If you're tired of starting and giving up, I want to see who here is ready to finally face the truth and build something that lasts. Because from now on, together, we'll understand not only why you fail, but also how to change that reality. People love to believe that the hardest part is getting started, as if the first step is the true turning point. And that's why so many people celebrate the beginning as if they've already made it. They announce they're going to change their lives, post on social media about their decision to train, study, or start a business, and feel fulfilled just for having started. But that's the cycle of illusion, the deceptive feeling of victory just because you took the first steps. It's as if the starting line were the podium, but life doesn't work that way. The phrase no one likes to hear is harsh, but liberating. You don't fail because you didn't start. You fail because you didn't keep going. And if you stop, To think about your own life. How many times have you fallen into this same trap? How many times have you started a new habit full of enthusiasm, but all it took was a setback, a bad night's sleep, or a lazy day to abandon everything? This is proof that starting isn't enough. The beginning is just the invitation, not the banquet. It's just the door, not the journey. And as long as you continue to believe that the beginning is the most important part, you'll repeat the same frustrating cycle of delusion, giving up, and regret. If you've ever experienced this, comment below, illusion, because I want to see who really recognizes this trap and is willing to break this pattern. What almost no one realizes is that this cycle is addictive. Every time you start something new, you feel a surge of energy, as if you've found the solution to all your problems. This initial enthusiasm releases a sense of empowerment, which is why so many people get excited about motivational quotes, buy new materials, download apps, and make detailed plans. The problem is that the illusion of starting is fleeting, and when the routine demands consistency, discipline, and continuous effort, the excitement evaporates. It's at this point that most abandon ship, convinced it didn't work, when in fact it didn't even have time to work. And so, the cycle begins again. The person gets frustrated, waits a while, finds another magic solution, and starts all over again, with the same euphoria that will soon fade. This isn't progress, it's self-deception. It's the eternal dance between starting and giving up, like a hamster running on a wheel, expending energy, but never getting anywhere. And maybe you're right there right now, stuck in the cycle of illusion, thinking you've already accomplished a lot just because you started, but not realizing that stopping too quickly is the real cause of your failures. If this has happened to you, comment illusion, because only those who admit it can truly change. The truth is that persistence is what separates dreamers from achievers. And persistence isn't glamorous. It doesn't get likes. It doesn't bring immediate applause. Continuing means repeating small actions, often without desire, without motivation, only with discipline. That's where the magic happens, but it's also where most people give up. Because the modern world has addicted us to quick results, to instant gratification, to feeling pleasure with every click. But real habits, solid changes and true achievements, are built on repetition, patience, and consistency. It's hard to hear this, but it's necessary. No one will applaud when you wake up early to study. No one will applaud when you choose to eat better in silence. No one will congratulate you when you resist temptation. But it's precisely these invisible moments that build visible success. And until you understand that value lies in continuity, you'll continue to fall victim to the cycle of illusion. So tell me, how many times have you fallen into this trap? How many times have you believed that just the beginning was enough? Write the word in the comments, illusion, because this is proof that you're not alone in this game. But unlike other times, this time we won't stop at the beginning. We'll walk the path to the end together. Self-sabotage doesn't scream into your life, it whispers. It arrives disguised as small concessions, those phrases that seem harmless at the time. Just today I won't work out. Just this once I'll break my diet. Just today I'll sleep in later and I'll recover tomorrow. You might think you have everything under control, but what you don't realize is that each just today opens a crack in the castle you're building. It's always like this. You convince yourself that an exception won't make a difference, but that exception is the invisible poison slowly killing your progress. The habit doesn't disappear overnight. It dies silently, corroded by the concessions you choose to make. And the worst part is that you call it balance, when in reality it's self-sabotage disguised as self-care. How many times have you fallen into this cycle? If you've ever felt this poison pulling you back into old patterns, write the word in the comments, poison, because I want to see who really has the courage to admit that they have been fooled by these little internal lies. The poison of self-sabotage is treacherous because it makes you believe you're still on the right path when in fact you're already straying from it. You tell yourself just today won't be a problem, but that just today becomes tomorrow, the day after, and before you know it, you're already weeks away from what you swore to change. It's as if you're giving free rein to the enemy that lives inside your mind, that internal saboteur that always finds an excuse to keep you comfortable and away from real effort. Self-sabotage offers you quick rewards. The food you wanted to eat, the extra hours of sleep, the immediate pleasure of not completing the task. But the bill comes later, and it comes heavy, with high interest rates of regret and frustration. And the worst part is, you know you're fooling yourself. Deep down, you feel like each concession is a step backward, yet you keep repeating the cycle. It's like drinking poison in small doses and hoping your body doesn't notice. But it does. Progress notices, discipline notices, and in the end, you pay the price. If you have ever experienced this bitter taste of self-sabotage, write poison in the comments, because I want to know who has felt the weight of these hidden choices. And here's the big truth that almost no one has the courage to face. Self-sabotage isn't bad luck. It's not a lack of motivation. It's not the fault of circumstances. It's a choice. Hard, cold, and direct. Every time you decide to say, just not today, you're choosing to kill the habit you swore to build. You're choosing to feed your weakness instead of your strength. And as long as you continue to believe you can negotiate with your progress, you'll remain trapped in this trap. The poison of self-sabotage only loses its power when you truly decide not to sell yourself short for small concessions. Because discipline isn't about doing things when you feel like it. Discipline is precisely about not giving in when the opposite urge arises. The question is, how long will you let this poison control your life? How long will you accept being pulled back by the same patterns that have always destroyed you? If you're tired of this cycle, comment now. Poison. Because this word is the mark of someone who has already recognized the invisible enemy and decided to fight it. This is the difference between someone who lives trapped in illusion and someone who finally achieves true freedom through consistency. The best-selling lie in the world of personal development is that you need motivation to change your life. It sounds nice, it sounds inspiring, but it's false. Motivation is like a spark. It burns brightly for a few seconds, but if you don't have something to sustain the flame, it quickly dies out. And that's exactly what happens to you. You watch a video, read a beautiful quote, listen to a song that energizes you, and suddenly you feel as if nothing can stop you. But that feeling doesn't last. When fatigue, laziness, or a lack of willpower set in, that energy disappears, and you're back where you were before. That's why I say it clearly. You wait for motivation, but motivation never lasts. Only discipline turns habit into victory. Is that hard to hear? Yes, but it's true. Because discipline is what makes you act when you have no desire at all, when everything inside you tells you to give up, but you choose to keep going. And that's the difference between someone who changes their life and someone who just collects pretty quotes saved on their phone. If you've noticed that motivation is fickle, comment here, discipline, because I want to see who really understood that it is she who sustains the long-term game. Motivation gets you started, but discipline is what carries you to the finish line. Think about it. How many times have you started a project full of energy and then abandoned it soon after? It wasn't because you didn't really want to. It was because you believed the fire of motivation would be enough to keep you going. But real life isn't made of emotional peaks. Real life is made of ordinary days, the ones where you wake up feeling unmotivated, when no one is watching, when there's no epic music playing in the background. That's when discipline comes in, like a shield against your own weakness. Discipline is the ability to show up even when you're not feeling motivated, to complete the task, even without applause, to keep the momentum going, even when no one is cheering you on. Motivation is a visitor. It appears every now and then. Discipline is a permanent resident. It stays by your side every day, And if you're still waiting for the perfect motivation to get started, I'm sorry to tell you, you'll be waiting forever. If you've already understood this, comment. Discipline now, because this word is the symbol of your decision to no longer depend on fleeting emotions. And here's the reflection that can change your life. The world's greatest winners aren't the most motivated, they're the most disciplined. High-level athletes don't train because they always want to. They train because they have discipline. Writers don't finish books because they wake up inspired every day. They write because they have discipline. People who build businesses, who transform their bodies, who change their realities, don't depend on the heat of the moment. They understand that motivation is fickle, but discipline is solid as a rock. And that's what you need to start practicing, not waiting to feel, but deciding to act. That's the turning point, because discipline isn't an emotion. Discipline is a choice repeated until it becomes part of you. So answer me, will you keep waiting for motivation to knock on your door, or will you build the discipline that never fails? Write your word in the comments. Discipline. If you understand that it is stronger than any fleeting motivation, this is the difference between those who dream and those who achieve, between those who talk and those who do, between those who start and those who finally finish. The real secret to change isn't transforming your entire life all at once, but learning to change the details you repeat every day. Most people get lost because they think they need to revolutionize their routine, turn things around, do everything differently overnight. But this mindset is the same one that puts you in the cycle of starting full of energy and stopping halfway through. The reality is simple and stark. You don't need to change the world in a day. You need to change one detail every day. A small, seemingly insignificant action has more power than a grand plan that never gets off the ground. Reading 5 pages a day is worth more than swearing you'll read a book a week and giving up after the second chapter. Walking 10 minutes today is worth more than planning to run a marathon and never taking the first step. This is how habits are built, not with bursts of motivation, but with repeated micro-actions until they become part of who you are. If you've already realized that small choices change everything, comment on the word now, detail, because I want to see who here understood that great transformation comes from small actions. But why is it so hard to accept this truth? Because our ego loves the idea of radical changes, the kind that impress others, that seem worthy of applause and likes. You feel powerful when you promise something big, but get frustrated when you can't deliver. That's why so many people give up, because they believe that if it's not huge, it's not worth it. But this is the illusion that keeps you stuck. Real change isn't a show. It's not meant to be displayed. It's silent, discreet, built behind the scenes. It's swapping soda for water at mealtimes, turning off your cell phone half an hour before bed, writing a page a day, instead of waiting for the perfect inspiration. It's these details that combined create a completely different life in months or years. True transformation is boring to watch but powerful to experience. So stop seeking the extraordinary and start practicing the essential. If this message has hit you like a punch of reality, write detail in the comments, because I want to see who really understood the power of the little thing that repeats itself. And here's what you need to engrave in your mind. Consistency is more important than intensity. Repeated detail is worth more than over-the-top effort that fails. When you look at anyone who truly changed, it wasn't because they did something epic in a single day, but because they were able to repeat simple actions without giving up. A healthy body, a disciplined mind, a successful career, all of this stems from micro-decisions that seem trivial at the time, but invisibly build the future. The problem is that you underestimate the detail and overestimate the grand effort. You want to run 10 kilometers in one go, but don't have the patience to walk 15 minutes. You want to meditate for an hour, but can't sustain 5 minutes of silence. You want giant results without sustaining the small steps. But life doesn't work that way, and until you understand this, you'll continue to be frustrated. So the choice is before you. Either you continue to deceive yourself with giant promises, or embrace the power of the daily detail that never fails. If you're ready to choose the second path, comment now. Detail, because this word represents the commitment to building your change on the solid foundation of daily repetition. This is the true secret that will free you from the cycle of giving up and lead you to the results you so desire. Have you ever noticed how most people promise huge changes but can't even sustain the basics? Well, that's where their weakness lies, in their inability to maintain a simple habit for just a few days. That's why I want to propose something different, something that cuts the excuses at the root and exposes your true strength. Day challenge. I'm not talking about transforming your entire life in a week, but about proving to yourself that you can consistently maintain a small action. The rule is clear. Choose a habit and do it for 7 days without fail. It could be waking up 30 minutes earlier, drinking 2 liters of water, writing a page, walking for 15 minutes. It doesn't matter. The key here isn't the size of the habit, but your ability to sustain the decision without giving in to laziness, self-sabotage, or excuses. This is your test of discipline, your practical proof that you can take control. If you accept this proposal and are willing to put your word on the line, comment now. Challenge, because I want to see who really has the courage to leave theory and enter into practice. The power of this challenge isn't in the immediate results you'll see, but in the internal transformation it provokes. During these 7 days, you'll notice how your mind tries to negotiate, how your inner saboteur comes up with excuses, how comfort lures you back into old patterns. And that's precisely where victory lies, in resisting every attempt to abandon, in showing yourself that you're stronger than your own lazy voice. These 7 days will act as a brutal mirror, revealing who you truly are when faced with small commitments. And make no mistake, if you can't sustain a simple habit for a week, how do you expect to change your life in months or years? This is the poison that destroys dreamers, and at the same time, it's the key that strengthens achievers. The challenge is short, but the impact is profound, because it shows that discipline isn't born from promises but from daily tests. If this message has already hit you like a punch of reality, comment challenge, because this word will mark the beginning of your public commitment. And here's the beauty of 7-day challenge. It's small enough to be possible, but strong enough to expose the truth. You don't have to wait for Monday next month or the right moment. You need to start today, right now, this instant. Choose the habit, commit to it for 7 days, and see what happens. I'm not promising you a miraculous transformation in a week, but I can guarantee you one thing. If you can maintain a habit for 7 days, you'll already feel the taste of discipline. You'll realize that it doesn't depend on motivation, but on decision. You'll discover that consistency is much more powerful than any fleeting emotion. And if you can overcome 7 days, you'll also be able to overcome 14, 21, 30, and so on. This is the starting point, the solid foundation for building whatever you want in your life. So I ask you, are you willing to put yourself to the test, or will you continue collecting empty promises? If you do, write it down. Challenge in the comments, because this word will be your public pact with change. And from now on, each repetition will be your test of strength against the old self that always gave up. If you've made it this far, you've already understood the message I want to leave in your mind. Your habits don't fail because they're impossible. They fail because you stop too soon. This is the wound no one likes to touch, but it's the most real. You don't fail because you lack ability, intelligence, or talent. You fail because you lack consistency. The world is full of talented people who never got anywhere, and also full of ordinary people who, with discipline, achieved extraordinary things. The difference isn't in potential, but in persistence. Consistency beats talent, beats motivation, beats everything. And that's the lesson you need to take with you in life. It doesn't matter if you start small. It doesn't matter if no one believes in you. It doesn't matter if it takes time. What really matters is your ability to not give up when the excitement wears off, to not stop when difficulties arise. If this resonated with you, comment on the word constancy, because I want to see who really understood that this is the key that opens all doors. Looking back, you might realize how many times you gave up on something along the way and how that shaped the life you have today. But now you also have the chance to change that, because the past doesn't define who you will be from now on, but your constancy today defines your future. And I'm not talking about grandiose promises, but daily commitments that you don't negotiate. The secret isn't waiting for perfect motivation or a magical moment to act, but in accepting once and for all that discipline is more important than willpower. Consistency transforms details into habits, habits into lifestyles, and lifestyles into results. And these results will appear when you least expect them, because each silent repetition is a seed planted. You may not see the growth at first, but one day the harvest will come. So tell me, will you continue sabotaging yourself, waiting for ideal conditions, or will you finally decide that you won't stop until you get where you want to be? Write constancy in the comments, because I want to know who is really determined to win. And before I close, I need to remind you of one important thing. This message cannot die here. If this spoke to you, if it somehow opened your eyes, then leave a like to show that it made sense. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because you never know the impact a word can have on someone else's life. And most importantly, it comments constancy to mark your public commitment to this decision. Because this isn't just another reflection video, it's a call to action. I don't want you to just think about change. I want you to live it. Starting today, stop looking for magic formulas and embrace the only one that really works. Showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it seems difficult, even when no one applauds. This is the true power of consistency. This is the key that will free you from the cycle of illusion and put you on the path to real victory. So, now it's your turn. Show that you understand, that you're ready, and that you won't stop too soon. Consistency is the name of the game. Consistency is what defines winners. Consistency is what will carry you through to the end.